All right, what's going on, everyone? It's Kyle Henderson alongside Tony Zukalis coming to you. Week 4 of the college football season is here. Tony, Southern Miss coming to town, 39-point underdog against Alabama.
Another close one.
Yeah, another close one. It's going to be interesting to see, what the defense has to, how the defense looks. I guess. I mean, theoretically, you could start 5 freshmen into this game.
Yeah, you would think if they run out of maybe the nickel or dime package to start, you could see 5 freshmen. You'd have 2 on the defensive line and Justin Mboigbe and DJ Dale, and 2 of the linebackers and Shane Lee and Christian Harris, and then 1 at safety and Jordan Battle. So that's 5 right there. There's a lot of ways they could do that. I mean, depending on the package, Jordan Battle might not be the starter at safety, and then there's still a possibility that Ali Cajo starts at will linebacker instead of Christian Harris. But yeah, there's a possibility of 5 freshmen, which is a big ask for, or just maybe more so just a bunch of inexperience for one defense.
We're coming to you from VooDooWings here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. If you haven't been to VooDooWings, you need to check them out. Incredible wings, and the fries are so fat and delicious. Seriously. And they got great banana pudding. So come check them out. Located here on University Boulevard. Tell them we sent you. BamaInsider.com. I think when you go into, when you looked at this week, there was a lot of storylines, but once again, Antonio Alfano kind of stole the headlines last night when Saban said he basically quit. Can you rewind? And I'm sure everybody knows what's going on, but what did Saban have to say last night? Basically quit?
Yeah, he said he basically quit on the team. He said that they've offered to, provide counseling. They've offered a lot of things, and then those things are still on the table. But until Antonio Alfano accepts those, those offerings are just, those accepts that help and wants to rejoin the team, Saban's going to assume that he quit. And that's kind of where Saban's at it. You can tell that Saban's really frustrated by the situation. He's had to talk about it multiple times now, and I wouldn't say it's becoming a distraction, but it is probably irritating Saban. And it's just it's a weird situation because I think, Antonio Alfano was a player that, a lot of people were excited about. His top 10 prospect in the nation, and somebody that you kind of thought would come in and make an instant impact, especially if, I would have told you that they had all the injuries on the defense. If LeBron Ray was out, you would think that Antonio Alfano would have found his way into this first team, or maybe not the first team defense, but into the defense in general. And it's just weird that, the situation played out the way that it did.
Yeah, I think when I look at it, Antonio Alfano looked like he had a really good springtime and then seemed to regress. I talked about this before. Right around that Duke game, and then vanished. And I just, I thought I wasn't sure if he would make any sort of contribution this year. I guess I felt like that in the springtime. But then, once I started to see DJ Dell, Justin Mboigbe, guys like that, start to leapfrog him from a freshman standpoint, I knew that, he would be second tier, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I still like what I saw from him from an athletic standpoint, and whatever happens with him, wherever he lands up, Data will be back here at Alabama, but I still think he's a pretty good football player, and, really strange situation, though. I don't think, this is, it's kind of unprecedented where the guy just basically quits, and, Saban was kind of at a loss for words.
On the flip side, though, he hasn't, as of yet, put his name in the NCAA transfer portal. So
that's another weird situation.
That's something that you would expect. And then his dad came out and with a series of tweets that kind of said that, it had to do with his ailing grandmother and that he was, considering a transfer. So you have to think that, a transfer seems likely at this point, but you really can't say that it's certain until he at least puts his name into that NCAA transfer portal.
All right, let's look at a couple grades and some stats from these. I go over all these stats and stuff like that after the game on Sunday nights. But, Tony, we're looking at the stats right here. Tua Tagovailoa, 70 at 91, 1,007 yards passing, 12 touchdowns. Talk about his performance throughout this season. And, I was really surprised by his Pro Football Focus grade. We talked about that. But overall, he's been pretty dynamic once again coming into his junior year.
Yeah, those numbers seem pretty good.
They're incredible. 213 passing rating? It's nuts.
He's been incredible, and he's been doing it the smart way. He hasn't been forcing passes. A lot of these passes have been short passes, but that's what's been making this offense work. You have these athletic receivers. We talk about this every week. Let them do the work for you, and that's what he's been doing. He's capable of making the big throws when he needs to, and he'll be called to do that later on throughout the season. I'm not sure if this is the week that he's going to be, really challenged. I think Southern Miss gave up a boatload of yards to Troy last week, so you would think that he's going to have another big game this week. But eventually he'll be challenged, and I think he'll be able to make the throws to step up to that challenge when that happens.
We're coming to you from VooDooWings here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. My name is Kyle Henderson, along with Tony Sukalis. We're coming to you from VooDooWings. Come check them out. VooDooWings is a great spot to come get your wing on. They have some tall boys, $2 tall boys on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And, of course, we're here on Thursday nights talking college football with you. Alabama will take on Southern Miss, and, it should be it'd be curious to see what the fan turnout is on Saturday, being that the game is on 11. There are a bunch of good college football games on. Georgia, Notre Dame, you got Wisconsin and Michigan. You got Texas A&M taking on Auburn.
Texas, Oklahoma State's not a ranked it's Oklahoma State's not ranked, but that's a game that I think could be a slip-up game for Texas as well. So after last week it was so rough with not a lot of big-time matchups. I think this week you have a lot more of those anticipated matchups that we've been waiting for. So.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it's finally a good week for college football, and I guess coming off that game last week against South Carolina, be curious to see what improvements we see in the secondary. But not to say that the secondary did bad last week. I just think they were finally challenged for once, and which is a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, there was some poor tackling, I think, especially on the perimeter that needs to be fixed. But I don't think the secondary is anything to really worry about. I think that was kind of a sloppy game in a lot of ways. I expect them to rebound and kind of show a little bit more dominance this week. Eventually, this Alabama team's going to have to put something together. They haven't played a complete game yet. It's a little early in the season to start worrying about some of these things. So you just want to look for the progress, and I think we're going to see that this week, especially with the dip down in an opponent. I think they'll be able to, after to some extent, a lackluster performance against South Carolina at times. I think there'll be a lot of call to focus, and I think you might see a more crisp game this week.
Tony, while I get the call-in line set up, will you read off a couple of these flavors that VooDooWings has to offer?
Definitely. Well, they told me to check out the lemon pepper. That's a big seller here. And then I personally really like the Voodoo, which is kind of like a soy-based with sriracha. They have a mango habanero. That's probably too hot for me to handle. It's high on this hot scale that they have. And then they have one called the Bomb, which I don't know if you have to sign something, but that's pretty. If you don't like the heat, they've got some milder flavors as well, like teriyaki and barbecue. So it's definitely a good place to check out.
Yeah, VooDooWings now open here in Tuscaloosa. Be sure and come and check them out. Tell them the BamaInsider.com staff sent you here, and we're coming to you from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, just a couple days away from game day, and excited to be here. Excited to be talking college football into Week 4. Nick Saban, you heard his press conference right here on BamaInsider.com last night. Also talked about the injury of LeBron Ray, another injury from the defensive side. Tony, how instrumental is this injury? Because, guys have been dropping from the starting defense left and right since the season started.
It's definitely a blow to the depth, right? You just can't have this many people out. And then especially with Alfano, that's another, he's not an injury, but you could almost view that as an injury because it's another guy off the depth chart. I think Justin Eboigbe is a guy we wrote about this week. Is definitely capable of answering the call. He's a really driven kid and somebody that's worked his butt off since joining as an early enrollee in January. But you get to this, it's another freshman on the starting defense, and just there's less and less depth after these guys. Alabama likes to rotate these defensive ends and defensive linemen in and out of games, and there's less and less people to do that with. It's gonna add to fatigue, and then if there's another injury, they could be in some big time trouble.
Yeah, if you guys want to post your prediction in the comment box, we'd appreciate that. The call-in line is also open 205-686-3604. You can call in and catch up with Tony and I. On TV right now, Houston leads Tulane 28-14 by no surprise. A couple weeks ago, we saw Jalen Hurts take on Houston, and Jalen Hurts, man, he's been completely balling out. #1 quarterback rate in the entire country.
How about those Tulane baby blue uniforms?
They're terrible.
I like them.
Tulane's not blue though.
They've got the blue in their colors.
Where on the wave?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
No,
it's like they have two colors. It's like the blue and
Tulane has
the
one
green.
color, green and yuck.
No, I like them. I don't know. I guess drop your comments in if you want to support me in my love for Tulane's
okay. How about
uniforms.
this? If you guys are watching the game, tell us what you think about the Tulane jersey combination. If you think they're trash, use the emoji trash. If you like them, use thumbs up. Coming to you from VooDooWings here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Tony, I mean, what can we even talk about when we talk about the offense? I mean, is the running game even an issue? I mean, you don't really even need a running game with the explosiveness of this offense.
I mean, not at the moment, but I think you definitely will need a running game. So it's definitely something that Alabama needs to improve. They haven't really been running the ball. There wasn't a lot of attempts. I see what trash comments coming in, so maybe I'm losing this battle on Tulane. But
we're actually the Tulane colors.
Yeah. But no, back to the running game. I think that they're capable of running it. They just haven't been consistent enough. I mean, I think they actually move the ball well at times against South Carolina. It's just I think you're looking for more consistency out of that unit, and that's just been a staple of Alabama offenses in the past. And really, now everything's in bizarro land where Alabama's more of a passing team. I think people are just not really used to that.
Yeah, I think when you look at it, you know, just like Nick Saban said, I think he said it tonight on the call-in show, that he in Alabama have not had a complete game, played a complete game just yet, right? I mean, in all phases. I mean, and he's right. I mean, I guess against South Carolina, you know, we didn't really see too much of a running game, but then again, I mean, the passing game, the RPO is just so efficient for this team that they could pretty much do what they wanted to do.
11 penalties too is
terrible.
Yeah, 11 penalties
and 8
tackles.
penalties against Duke.
Yeah, Alabama has some of the most penalties in the nation, and it's definitely concerning. And you've seen in recent years actually penalties have gone up for Alabama, so it's something that I'm sure that Nick Saban is addressing, and he hates self-inflicted problems, and so I definitely think that will be addressed. It's 11 penalties is too many, and against a good team, that something like that's going to really cost.
What about Justin Mbogwe? I mean, you talked about him. You wrote a story about him, and tell us a little bit about Justin Mbogwe. I mean, he's another freshman that will be starting next to DJ Dell, who you wrote a story on a couple weeks ago. What type of player is Justin Mbogwe, and what does he bring to the table?
He's another hard-working kid. He's a guy that decided he wanted to graduate high school early, but late in the process. Mm-hmm. So he basically had to double up his high school load and take online classes on top of football, on top of his regular classes, and he really got it done. He did it all by himself. You look at a kid, Alabama's always looking for kids that are driven and that, can kind of do the work and kind of fall into that process early on in their career. And I think Justin Mbogwe's that kind of kid, just based on how much he took to get to Alabama and to get to this thing, to the level that he is now. I mean, look, if he wasn't an early enrollee, there's no guarantee that he gets this opportunity. Maybe there's somebody else on the roster that would have jumped him to get that chance. So those kind of things have been paying off for him. He's definitely a kid from a physical standpoint that can get to the quarterback, has a really quick get off. Raekwon Davis called him twitchy, so I think he's a guy that's going to step in nicely. It's just a matter of another person you might have to worry about the occasional growing pain as he gets used to the defense.
Now, last week we saw Will Reichert, who is 2 for 3 on field goals on the season. He's 4 for 7. Saban continues to have a lot of confidence in his freshman kicker. What has been your assessment from the early sample size that we've seen from the freshman out of Hoover, Alabama?
The consistency there has been the issue, at least in terms of field goal. Right when you think he's going to turn the corner, then he misses an easy field goal, and then he misses an extra point. I think it's there for him, though. I think he's got the leg to do it, and I think he's a guy that once he gets his feet settled, it's hard to do this as a freshman. It's hard to step up on this stage as a freshman, but I think sooner than later he's going to get more established. We've seen what he can do on kickoffs, and he's not been the best punter yet, but he's somebody that, he's performed better than Skylar DeLong. That's obviously an area of concern for Alabama, but he's a guy that can do everything. Will Reichert is. And I think it's all there for him once he gets it, kind of the mental side of it figured out.
Now, we also talked about, or you talked about it today, was the Will inside linebacker position. And if that's going to be Christian Harris, it's going to be Ali Cajo. What do you think? I mean, Little Joe in the comment box, not impressed with Shane Lee at all. What's your take on the inside linebacker position right now?
Well, I mean, you got to look at the two young guys, trying to figure things out. They're limited at times. I think Nick Saban talked about the fact that he almost has to dumb down the defense, and because he can't have people do things that they're not capable of doing. So that's another thing that factors into the Alabama's, having so many young players on defense. They can't do everything that they could have done if their starters were there. So it's a little bit of a handicap. I think that there's been times when Shane Lee's probably struggled to get calls in, and that's expected. He wasn't supposed to be the Mike linebacker his freshman year, his first game of his career. So I think that you're going to have to deal with those kind of struggles. Christian Harris has struggled as well. Another couple times he missed his assignment basically, or is late to his assignment on a pass coverage and allowed some big plays. So I think those are the things you hope to see them get better over time. And I think that they will, but they take time. And I think with a young team, you're going to have to deal with some of those things.
Coming to you from VooDooWings here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I'm with Tony Sukalos. Come over here, grab some wings. The wings are delicious. I'll show you the menu one more time. They got the bomb, which is up at the top. Mango, habanero, hot, voodoo, medium, Cajun ranch. Cajun ranch sounds really exciting. Mild, sweet heat, lemon pepper, garlic parmesan. That's what I went with last time. Teriyaki, barbecue. Tell them BamaInsider.com sent you. They also got $2 tall boys on Tuesdays and on Thursdays. So come over here, give them some support. Tell them BamaInsider.com sent you. Good place. And I not pictured are the fries, which are the fattest fries in the land, and they're just completely delicious. So be sure and get your fries. They actually have some really good fried pickles as well, and they got good coleslaw. If you want to post your comment box or your prediction in the comment box, we'd appreciate that. Tony, what was your score prediction for this weekend? You remember?
Shoot,
I can look it up
for
me
you on the spot.
No,
but
I can look it up for you.
I'm gonna go 52-13. Is that what I said?
Said something like that.
I hope it's 52-13.
And your MVP, I think it was
my pick.
And then you had Ruggs as your.
I did have Henry Ruggs as my MVP. I remember that.
I think I had it something similar, and I also had.
If it's not 59-13, I'm changing it to. Or
Yeah.
52-13. If it's not 52-13, that's what I'm changing it to now.
Is this defense? Did they allow 17 points? I think I said that they scored 17 points tomorrow. Does that seem out of the realm, Brian Denny?
I don't know. You look at. You talking about Southern Miss scoring 17 points?
Yeah.
They pass the ball enough.
That's what I'm saying.
You can
That's
get
like,
lucky.
I
You can get
kinda
big
felt,
play. Hey, they have one of the best kick returners. Something we haven't.
Oh, have you
about.
seen Jalen Adams? Look him up.
The guy's really fast.
He looks. It looks like they sped up his tape.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Look him up on Twitter. And Jalen Adams, he has 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns and a punt return.
The only player in the nation to have both a kick return and a punt return so far this.
Oh, he's incredible. And so we posted that on the message board on the Talk of Champions, and then someone was like, well, good thing, we punt 12 yards a punt. And that was Skylar DeLong had a 12-yard punt. But actually, each punter, Skylar DeLong and Will Reichert, they're averaging 34 yards per punt.
Yeah, I think Skylar
still
DeLong
nothing
at 34,
to write home.
Reichert's at like 39, so a little bit better, but not
nothing
great. I think they ranked 125th in the nation in terms of combined. Out of 135 teams, so out of 130 teams, so not great.
I don't know. Looking at this overall schedule for Alabama, you got Southern Miss, and then next week they'll take on Ole Miss. You got to think they're at least, a double-digit favorite in that one, of course. I think they were in the early season. You got to think, 21 points, 24 in that game. And then after that, they'll have
week. That's going to be huge for, just for rest standpoint, and then getting ready for probably the first test of the year against Texas A&M. So
do you think we've talked about it before on my show that I have on Sundays. A lot of people don't feel that Kellen Mond is a good quarterback. I think he's pretty good. What do you think?
He's decent. I mean, look what he did to Alabama last year.
That's what I say.
He
Yeah.
played a decent game. I don't think he's an elite. You know, we're going to do a Joe Flacco elite debate, but I'm not sure he's an elite quarterback, but he's a good quarterback. He's a guy that can hurt you if you don't. If you make mistakes, he's a guy that can exploit them, I think.
And I think I was curious to get your take on this. As we look now at the college football spectrum, and we've had 3 weeks of play. I mean, maybe it's not enough college football to really assess this, but who are the teams that you really feel could challenge Alabama this season?
I think there's a tier.
Take all of them, too.
I think there's a tier 1, and or are you talking about in college football in general or just on the schedule?
No, I'm talking in like all college football.
Yeah, so I think there's a tier 1 that would have to be Clemson, Alabama, and Georgia.
Those are like the obvious.
I think is a tier 1. I think
Yeah.
it goes a slightly step down when you look at teams like Oklahoma and Ohio State, and then maybe another step down when you start considering the teams after that, maybe an LSU or
Did you say Oklahoma?
I did. I said Oklahoma and Ohio State, and that tier 2.
Okay, tier
and then
2.
Tier
Okay.
3, I would put maybe like an LSU and some of the other teams in that mix right there.
I can't even imagine what would happen to the internet, because the internet, as you know, is undefeated. If Jalen and Tua were to meet at some point along the way,
national championship game maybe.
Can you imagine that? Like, I just every headline would that would be the headline. Every headline.
Except Mac Jones replaces Tua in the second half.
There you go. Yeah. Jones surges past Tungo Vailoa and Hurts, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's how this has to end.
It has to. I don't know. I mean, we've seen a small sample size as well from Mac Jones. You impressed so far? Or do you need to see more?
It's really hard to judge just with what we've seen. It's so small of a sample size.
What is he? Yeah,
he hasn't looked bad. I think his numbers are good.
We have the stats right here.
He might have even had
12 of 17, 140 yards.
I think he could have had better.
Touchdown.
If you go back to just last week's numbers, I think he might have actually somehow, however they judged the quarterback rating, might have had a better quarterback rating. Am I correct in that?
Yeah,
yes.
There you are. 3 for 3, 51 yards, 240.
I don't know how quarterback ratings are actually. I don't know the science and math behind the quarterback ratings, but technically, Mac Jones had a better quarterback rating than Tua on Tua's career day.
Let's talk about. I love this graphic here coming up. These receivers.
All 4 of them have 1,000 career receiving yards, which is pretty impressive.
It's unbelievable. I guess you know they're gonna get Jalen Waddle into the end zone maybe like 3 or 4 times to speed him up to catch up to these other guys.
It seems like they go in waves.
Yeah.
It seems like everyone has their game. Like last game, it was
I wonder if that's part of the game plan. They like look at the stat board and they're like, all right, you ready, Smitty? This is your time, man. Like you're in Columbia, you're up. Jalen Waddle, Southern Miss, you know what to do. No touchdowns. The thing about this receiving unit is the fact that I think they do such an exceptional job with their downfield blocking. If you look at this team, they're very selfless, and Henry Ruggs talked about that earlier this year. The fact that they really get out in front of their blockers and make room for these other receivers to make large plays downfield, which I think is selfless football. You see it from all these guys. It seems like they have a really good continuity as a whole.
And these are not, big, bulky receivers that you would expect to just be like the stereotypical block guy.
No.
You got track star Henry Ruggs laying down blocks. He's probably the best blocker of the unit. And then you got Devontae Smith, who's, a $170 soaking wet laying down blocks.
But he is literally like he will grab a safety and just stock block them to like the end zone.
Yeah.
And I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but Nick Saban said that last year. He said that Henry Ruggs is like freakishly strong. He's like freakishly strong, and you can see that demonstrated on the field. I mean, he's a great blocker, and those guys have done a really good job this year for each other. It's gonna be strange when those 4 or those 3 next year probably in the NFL. I guess. Do you think Devontae Smith goes to the NFL?
I think probably only 2 of them go this year, just because not because they couldn't. I just think that I don't know who the 2 of them is gonna go. Or I guess logically, or you could probably put Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs above in terms of what we've seen from mock drafts and stuff like that. But I think that 2 of them will go, and because I think 2 of them could also be first-round picks.
Now, Philip from the House of Harris. I love that name, Phyllis from the House of Harris. He's like, where's the depth, though? Shavers, Mechie, Bolden, Williams. when will we see and get looks from these guys get meaningful minutes?
There's only one football, so it's really kind of hard to spread it out.
There's only one football. Remember when Saban said that like 5 times?
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, you're right. I'd like to see John Mechie get more of the ball. I think he's a guy that, we were really excited about in the spring, and somebody I think that can make a difference. Just
John Mechie's he's a baller for sure.
Patience, might just be the key for those guys. I'd also really like to see, I've been waiting a while to see Tyrell Shavers and what he can do, just because of his size and the extra dimension that he could add to this team. So if they could get him involved, I think that adds another aspect to this offense.
I've been waiting on that for such a long time. What about you wrote another article about maybe you wrote an article about almost every player this week. Slade Bolden.
Probably, yeah. I'm just working my way down the roster.
Slade Bolden.
What about that Wildcat position? That's what that article
Big
was
special
about.
team play, and then he had.
What do you feel about Slade in the Wildcat? It's kind of a different look than what we had with
Jacobs,
where Jacobs was more of a bowling ball kind of guy. You could know the hole that Jacobs was running through and still not stop him. I think Slade's a little bit different. He's a little bit shiftier than he might be, more agile than Jacobs, but he's going to be somebody that I think is going to have to rely on that more, because I think if you knew where he was going, I don't think he's running. I don't think you're going to see Slade run over somebody.
Now, I think granted, Slade has done a great job. He's going to get on the field. He's a very good athlete. Saban really likes him at scout team quarterback when they have a running team. But I'll tell you who I would like to see at Wildcat even more, Jalen Waddle.
Well, the interesting part of that package is that Waddle is actually the running back.
Yeah, so, and I get that with those two guys back there, but I think just with his explosiveness, it could be. I mean, it could be very dangerous. But I see where you're going with it. I mean,
so you just do a sweep to Waddle, or they fake the handoff to Waddle. So I think you're looking at like having an RPO with Slade and Waddle, and that's what you're doing out of that package. So you're going to get Waddle. You don't really want Waddle running across up the middle. That's not where he can use his shiftiness. So you want him coming across the edge, and I think that's what you're doing with that package.
Another thing with Slade is the fact that he played quarterback in high school. So if he does need to throw it, if there is some sort of wrinkle to where he's in Wildcat and it's a read option, he can throw it. Hey. He can be a quarterback.
Yeah, I don't think he's an elite drop back passer by any means.
But he can throw the
football.
I
think he can complete a 15-yard pass, especially when the defense is not looking for it. He's another guy that, maybe they do that jump pass that, we saw from Florida. That could be something that he could do. So it'd be interesting to see how they're going to do it. I think it's just, I really like the fact that Waddle's back there. I think that you're going to see something creative if they do continue to use this. And I think they're 9 out of 10 in their last 10 attempts out of the Wildcat at picking up a first down. The only time they didn't pick it up was in the national championship game, and it was like a 3rd and 1. They didn't pick it up, and they went for it again on 4th down, same play, and then they did pick it up. So,
what do you think about DJ? What's up, DJ from Ohio? He said, I've been waiting for the tight ends to block somebody. What have you thought about the tight ends so far, Tony?
Everyone talks about the offensive line missing blocks. That's the tight ends are another person. I think they've kind of gotten away from the blame. People are just quick to blame it on the offensive line and not consider that that's a lot of the duties of the tight ends as well. I think there's a lot of people up front that need to do a better job and just in terms of consistency, like we've been talking about. And so the tight ends are definitely somebody that they're not exempt from that group.
All right. Gents, if you want to call in, man, call line is open, 205-686-3604. Coming to you from VooDooWings in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Here are the wing flavors. The wings are delicious. The wings are nutritious. The bomb, mango, habanero, hot, voodoo, medium, Cajun ranch is calling my name. Mild, sweet heat, lemon pepper, garlic parmesan, teriyaki, barbecue. As I said, they got the fattest fries in all of the land. So come and get your VooDooWings on. Tell them the BamaInsider.com staff sent you. We got our first call from a legit caller. All right, what's going on, man? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson and Tony Sakalas. Who are we on the line with, and where are you calling from?
What's going on, Kyle? This is Jared from Buffalo. What's going on, brother?
Hey, what's up, Jared? Good to hear from you, man. It was really great stuff on Sunday night, man. You got some compliments from some callers who followed up. So good stuff, man.
Yeah,
what's on your
man.
mind?
That was nice.
Yeah,
that was really nice.
Any compliment is a good compliment, man. I mean, you always come with it, man. So what's on your mind tonight?
I want to talk about the depth of Alabama a little bit. Watching a little bit around the college football. One of the things I noticed about some of the teams that are saying that okay, these teams can dethrone Alabama is that these teams have a lot of depth. Right? I look at Georgia. I think Georgia's the best contender to knock off Alabama because they got the offensive line wise, but behind their offensive line, they got like three groups of guys that can easily start from anybody else in the country, and they can replace them like nothing. But Georgia just has so much depth and literally in almost every single position that it's hard to really find a weakness on that football team. I think Clemson's the same way. They just have nothing but waves and waves of guys. Ohio State obviously has waves and waves of guys. I think LSU and Oklahoma has shown the ability that they've always had those waves and waves of guys. Maybe for Oklahoma, the defensively, yeah, we have questions. But Alabama, I have questions about the depth. I talked about this on Sunday, but I have concerns about the depth because of just the injuries, the loss of leadership. Now, like I said, you got 3.5 weeks until you play your first really tough competition. But I think if you look at that depth and you look at down the road, that can play into a big concern, especially if Alabama's not 100% healthy by the time they start playing with big teams.
I agree with you, and I'm really high on Georgia as well. I think they're a team, and we're really going to get to see them this week against Notre Dame. I expect them to kind of crush Notre Dame, but at the same hand, it's a competition that you can kind of judge them off of. I think Alabama actually has a lot of talent, even in some of the you look at a guy like Boygbe, for example, that came in. That's an example of depth. Obviously, Alabama's had to deal with some significant injuries. I think it's really just the experience that Alabama doesn't have. And I think that could be costly, because we're talking this whole show about mistakes, and if those happen against Texas A&M, that might be a different story.
Yeah.
What else? What else is on your mind, Jack? What do you want to elaborate a little bit more on those inside linebackers? Is that a cause for concern as we go into Week 4?
Wait, can you repeat that?
What about the inside linebackers? Would you say that's a cause for concern as we go into Week 4?
Not. I would say, we got 3.5 weeks. I think that for the experience factor, it was going to happen sooner or later. I was actually kind of expecting it to happen Week 1. It's better to struggle in the first game than it is to struggle, let's say, 5, 7, maybe 8 weeks down the line when you're playing against Auburn and A&M and the tougher competition. So I think struggling against a team like South Carolina that most likely is going to win about, 7 or 8 games this year, and I think they got a lot of talent. So, you got this game, you got Ole Miss, you got the bye week. So I think that experience is definitely going to come into a factor. I think that, especially Christian Harris, we talked about dude never even played linebacker before. He was a receiver and cornerback back when he was at the University Lab. So I think he's just still trying to learn the position. Shane Lee, I think he's a guy that needs to definitely work on some things, especially as far as taking better angles, handling the play calls better. But I would love to see more, like the Cahos, the Moody's, the Markel Bentons of the world. I would love to see them getting a lot of team reps so that if God forbid if Shane Lee and Christian Harris goes down, those guys can step up and no problem. It's just really the mental thing that I'm just more worried about. So hopefully they can get that right. But they got 3.5 weeks. That's a lot of time. But I would say maybe after the Ole Miss game, and if things are still a little bit sloppy, that's why I think the red flag is definitely going to raise up.
Do you like Ali Cajo or Christian Harris at that will linebacker position?
Man, I like that's a hard question because which linebacker can grasp the plays better? Which linebacker can call out the play, can call it out? No matter how fast you are or how athletic you are, if you don't have that mentality factor down, if you don't have that thing mentally down, That's hard. And I haven't seen enough for Cahill, and I haven't seen enough for Christian Harris. So that's why I would love to see, just like to see more film on that. Me personally.
You'd have to say that Cahill would have the advantage in that, right? He's had a whole extra year with the program. You'd think that he would know the defense a little bit more. I think that might be the reason why he might be getting more of an opportunity in maybe next game. If he's able to just know more, he's also a guy that was a really highly recruited kid. So he kind of has a chance to kind of rebound and kind of have his breakout moment right now if he gets that opportunity this week.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that his experience with that extra year, I think that would definitely benefit the program. I don't think they didn't change that much, right? Since Pete Goldman came in, they didn't change that many as far as concepts and schematics that they had.
Well,
so I think that what would say?
I think that they have had to dumb some things down or limit some of the things that they're able to do, the complexities of the defense, because you have so many young players. I think that's something that Nick Saban talked about this week, and so that's another thing that you have to consider is if you have all these young players in there, that you can't do the same things as if you had a Dylan Moses, LeBron Ray, and some of the, or maybe not so much LeBron Ray, but Joshua McMillan as well. So some of these older guys, you're able to do more because they know more. Saban's never going to, just throw Shane Lee or Christian Harris into a situation where he doesn't feel like they know what they're going to do. So I think, maybe as they get more experience, or if you can find some more experience on the team, you'll be able to see a return to some of those more complex looks.
Hey, Jack, we appreciate you calling in, man. Thank you so much. We'll catch up with you, I would assume, either Saturday or on Sunday night for sure. Cool?
All right, yep, as always.
All right, thanks, buddy.
All
right, Jared from Buffalo, always a great...
One of our best callers, yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah. You need to hear Rob in Colorado, paging Rob in Colorado. That was good. So as we mentioned, we're coming to you from VooDooWings on Thursday night. We got our next call in. Here we go. All right, how's it going? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson and Tony Tsoukalas. Who are we on the line with, and where are you calling from?
Hi, my name's Austin. Calling back for my fourth time. Really love your show.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you so much for calling in. How was your Thursday today?
Oh, it's been pretty great. I kind of want to talk about inside linebackers and just the lack of depth. Me personally, I'm not really too worried because what my mindset is like, well, Jonathan Allen, Reuben Foster, all of them, they started somewhere. They were a freshman at one time, and I think it's just a matter of time before they get their feet a little more wet and get used to everything, calm defense, being that field general.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Are you concerned that there's so many of them, though? I think I think that might be the biggest concern, is that it's not just Shane Lee, it's not just Christian Harris, it's so many of them on defense. Is that something that you think is going to prove to be a problem?
What was that?
So many freshmen, though. It's not just one guy, right? So do you think that that's going to be a problem? Or I get the concept maybe that, it's just everyone starts somewhere, but how difficult do you think it's going to be, considering that they have 5 freshmen on defense?
I honestly think it may take a little time. It might take all the way to, let's say, the Ole Miss game. And there will be a game, I have a strong feeling, there'll be a game where they're just going to click. You can see them gradually get better and better and better. And that's all they can do right now. And until they get, even more depth back, like LeBron Ray and Dylan Moses. But until then, it's just the hard work you put in. It's the time you spend with Coach Saban, kind of go over the defensive schemes, just getting better as a player. And you'll see that go throughout week by week.
Hey, well, we appreciate you calling in. Please call again next time. Good stuff. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem, man.
All right, call line is open, 205-686-3604. Coming to you from VooDooWings in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Alabama hosts Southern Miss. Southern Miss 2-1, scoring 33 points per game on offense, allowing 30 points on defense. Alabama is a 39-point favorite in this game. Game time is 11 a.m. on ESPN2. If you want to call in line is open. We'll take a couple more calls, and then we're going to dip out and have some wings ourselves as we prep for Friday and Saturday in beautiful Tuscaloosa. I guess, so many freshmen playing. I guess it's almost a good thing this season because the schedule has been so favorable, so the guys can really gain experience. And then also when you look at next year, I know it's probably it's too early to look at next year, but the amount of guys that are probably going to be leaving to the NFL, it's going to be a tremendous amount leaving this program. So the younger the youth getting experience, it's vital this year. And Saban obviously knows that, but it's going to only bode well, especially for the defensive side of the ball. But what about from the offensive side? I mean, what younger guys, particularly freshmen, have stepped on the field this year so far, Tony?
Well, as a starter, it's really been Evan Neal.
Evan Neal, right?
Darren Dalcourt's another guy that I think
so
you have
good.
to look at.
Yeah.
And the guy that, with the amount that Chris Owens has struggled, you'd have to think that he might, if things keep up the way they've been going, you'd have to think that Dalcourt might actually, get more of a chance. Obviously, you're not just going to let the struggles continue. So if he's somebody that Alabama feels that they could insert there, why not? I mean, they've shown confidence with freshmen on the defensive side of the ball. I think Darren Dalcourt's a guy that's received a lot of praise and somebody that possibly could fill a role for Alabama this year.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, you look at Darren Dalcourt, he's done a really good job. Pierce Quick got in there against New Mexico State. That's the first time that we saw him. He's another guy who really spearheaded this entire class of 2019. Other freshmen, I think, we talked about John Mechie, but it's going to be tough for him to really see significant time moving forward just because the amount of talent at the wide receiver position. And then Trey Sanders, who we were all looking forward to seeing, he was hurt,
right.
So
it'd be interesting to see what the running game would look like with Trey Sanders, because I think that he'd be kind of the perfect fit for what they're looking for. He's a
Definitely.
little bit, he's still got the power, but he's a little bit more elusive than Najee Harris and Brian Robinson. I wonder if he would be the main back this year with the way things are shaping up, with the struggles that the running game has had. I wonder maybe if he would have had that opportunity to be that guy. So definitely somebody that we want to watch for next year.
Now, I wish I could take credit for this, but it was actually Tony who came up with this. Tony said this. He said, we were talking about Trey Sanders and about his Heisman campaign, and he's like, plot twist. Trey Sanders comes back and does win the Heisman Trophy his freshman year, which would be next year.
Right, because you got to think Najee Harris might be gone, and you don't know what the situation's going to be like with Brian Robinson either. So, he could be the lead back his freshman year, especially with in a year that you would kind of maybe figure Alabama would return more to its run game. He could actually follow up with that original bold statement of winning the Heisman his freshman year. Although I think he meant it this year, obviously. Good
point out by Jasper. Jasper mentions Kellen Robinson, who's actually looked really good this year as well.
At times, he's broken some big runs, but he's also struggled with consistency too. I think people got really enamored by that huge 74-yard run in Bryant-Denny Stadium, but he's a guy that's also had the same struggles as Najee Harris and Brian Robinson and Jerome Ford as well. So a guy that can show that he can be a playmaker, but Alabama has a bunch of those guys. They need someone that can kind of provide that constant consistency.
I agree. Omar, I see you out there, man. Nobody has played anybody. It's game 3. I completely agree. I mean, Duke, come on. New Mexico State, are you serious? And then South Carolina. We got a little taste, but, not a real threat to Alabama. I think we have to wait for a little bit of time. Yeah, DJ, you're right. Kellen got the juice.
Every time that guy's mentioned, it's always juice.
Yeah. Now it's just juice. He just became.
Has to be juice now.
He's just juice.
Yeah.
We'll take a couple more calls if you guys want to call in, 205-686-3604. Definitely come check out VooDooWings here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, now opened on University Boulevard. AlabamaInsider.com sent you. Great wings, and on Tuesdays and Thursdays they got $2 tall boys, 16 ounces, so you can come get your drink on. prep for the college football weekend, and of course come in on college football Saturday, because as you know, nothing goes better than college football and wings. We'll be back again, tomorrow. Tony will have what do you got working on for tomorrow? Usually Tony, every single Friday, Tony has a Friday feature. What are we working on for tomorrow, Tony?
Yeah, just a kind of a profile on Patrick Surtain, and just, how his dad's helped him through this process. Obviously I try to tie the game, the profile back to the game, and Patrick Surtain Sr., proud alum of Southern Miss.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a conflict of interest for him. Obviously, he's rooting for his son, but he's kind of still got a little bit of love for the black and gold. But no, really just a good story about how Patrick Surtain Sr. still keeps in contact with his son and still has always been that guiding force behind Patrick, and really kind of shaped him in his image, and kind of just always been there for him. So kind of going inside about their relationship.
Yeah, you can check that out tomorrow on BatmanInsider.com. If you're not a premium subscriber to BatmanInsider.com, I'll play the ad that DJ from Ohio posted on our last call-in show. He was a YouTube subscriber, then turned premium subscriber, and DJ can definitely attest for being on BatmanInsider.com. You get a ton of analysis, all the in-depth coverage, nonstop coverage on Alabama Crimson Tide football, and of course you get recruiting with Andrew Bone. So we'll be back on, of course tomorrow, then on Saturday and Sunday with the call-in show, and we'll break it all down, get all the coverage back at BatmanInsider.com. We're about to split, grab some wings. And, thank you for joining us tonight on the Prediction Show, powered by VooDooWings. Be sure and check them out. Check our coverage out on BatmanInsider.com, Twitter, Facebook, all the same. Coming to you from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, he's Tony Sukalos. I'm Kyle Henderson. Until next time, my friends, talk soon.